First time I ever vended a Pokemon card show, I walked in with a cardboard box and some dreams, and that's about it. I had one display case, I didn't have any shelving, I didn't have a cart even to help me move things around. I had a bunch of cards loose in a cardboard box and a cheap wooden display from Amazon that smelled like burnt plastic. But you know what? It kind of worked for my first show. And then immediately we needed to do something else. But that's the point of this episode. Let's talk supplies. What's up? I'm Taylor with Mount Silver Trading Company. I started vending at the beginning of 2025, and I know how overwhelming it can be when you're just trying to get started. Especially when you're trying to figure out what gear actually matters and what doesn't. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through my actual vendor setup. What I started with, what I upgraded over time, and what I would do differently if I were starting today. So, to lead off, I want to give you the most useful information you can take from this video. If you are starting your very first show and you need to know the bare minimum gear, this section is for you. This is our $150 starter kit. Here's the truth. You don't need thousands of dollars of gear to get started. You can build a setup for roughly $150 that will be totally serviceable for your first couple of shows. I know because this is basically what I use to get started. Your first and most important purchase is going to be your display case. And this has two functions. Having a display case, one, makes it so that you can more easily show off your product and make it so that people can see what you have. But two, it also decreases your liability of things getting stolen. The unfortunate state of the union of the Pokemon TCG hobby is there's a lot of money in it right now, which means there's also a lot of theft. People are incredibly greedy, and when they see an opportunity to take something that won't easily be noticed, they're gonna do it. Having a display case helps put a barrier in between that opportunity to prevent your items from being stolen. Your very first display case shouldn't be anything too flashy as you're kind of feeling out if this is the right thing for you. You can immediately jump to more expensive cases that I'll talk about later, but if you're just wanting to try it out and see if this side of the hobby is right for you, simple wood-framed card display case from Amazon is gonna absolutely do the trick for you. They're usually around 50 or 60 bucks. They look relatively clean, and you're not just laying your cards out flat on a table for someone to walk by and take them. This purchase is kind of hard to mess up. There's probably 24 brands that all sell the exact same wooden framed card display case that are all around the same price point. Just pick one that has good reviews and is going to show up on time. You can't really mess this one up. The next pickup that you make is pretty important if you want people to actually stop at your table. Through anecdotal market research by scrolling through TikTok comments, the number one reason people don't stop at a table is they don't see clearly marked pricing. So having some kind of way to show what you're asking for your cards is crucial if you want people to actually stop and buy. I have a couple of options that I'll arrange from most beginner friendly to most intermediate, depending on what you have lying around and how much you want to invest in this portion of the table. You can kind of decide what's right for you. First up is the colorful price dot stickers. They work, they're cheap, they don't look amazing, but they get the job done. And you know what? That's totally fine for your first show. You can buy like 4,000 of these on Amazon for like $6. In terms of being the most price effective and the easiest to use, these are your best bet. If you want something that looks a little bit more professional but isn't necessarily going to break the bank, a price gun is going to be your friend. You can buy a price gun with a couple of refills of sticker packs for like $40 on Amazon. So it's a little bit of a step up from your price dot stickers, but it'll look a little bit nicer for sure. The nice thing about the price gun is it is significantly faster than your price dot stickers. You can move through an entire stack of cards very quickly using your price gun. One thing I'll warn you about with a price gun, and the reason that I actually moved away from my price gun, is the ink can actually smudge if you're not careful and let it dry. I got one that maybe wasn't the highest quality, but the ink would just pool and smudge and make a huge mess of all of my top loaders. And so for a really clean uniform look, I moved to our third option here. Option 3, and what I'm using now to price my cards, is a label maker. I think this makes the pricing the most visible and easy to read. It's very professional. It's not ink based, so you don't have to worry about smudging, smearing, or ruining any of your cards or top loaders. And overall, the use case is fairly streamlined. One thing I would recommend if you're going this route is get one with a built-in keyboard. I've at times had issues pairing my phone to a Bluetooth label maker at a show because of all of the devices around and interference and poor signals, whatever else. Sometimes that connection gets a little spotty. If you have one with a built-in keyboard, you can just type it out right on the device and print it. You don't have to worry about any connection issues whatsoever. In an ideal world, during your first show, you're going to be taking in cards that you either purchase or take in for trade. And with those, you're probably going to want clean top loaders and penny sleeves if you're going to put them out for that same show. So having a couple of packs of clean penny sleeves and new top loaders to make sure that the cards that you're displaying look nice as you're putting them out is really good. The other thing I'll say, a surprising amount of people ask me if I have extra top loaders during a show. So having those and being able to accommodate can help build relationships and get people coming back because they remembered that you helped them out. Fourth purchase for this $150 starter setup is going to be a small cash bag. Should be a strapped bag that you wear on your body, either crossbody, fanny pack, whatever. The big thing here is you want to keep it on you. You don't want your cash floating around so that someone can actually snatch your bag and run off with it. Plus, it makes giving change much easier. You don't have to worry about fumbling through your wallet or through your pockets for loose bills. You can keep them organized in your bag and make that checkout process really easy. And our fifth and final purchase, and what I wish I would have bought for my very first show, is a wagon, a cart, something to help wheel your stuff in. Look, this is the least flashy purchase I'm going to talk about all day today. No one's going to come up to your table and be like, dang, that wagon looks real good. I want to buy some cards from you. But let me tell you, the convenience of having a wagon to be able to wheel your supplies in and out is unbeatable. This is one area that I feel like is under discussed as vendors. The load in and load out process, if you don't have the proper gear, can be exhausting. And wearing yourself out before a show even starts, getting all sweaty and smelly, is not a great way to attract customers to your table. I promise you, getting a cheap folding wagon from Costco is going to save your back, it's going to save you time, and it's going to save your sanity. So, that's our $150 bare minimum starter setup. This will absolutely meet your needs for your first couple of shows. But now I'm sure you're wondering, what does the upgrades look like? Where do I go from here if I start growing? So let's talk about some of those resistance points and when I realized that my setup was holding me back. I had a couple of moments where I thought to myself, man, this is kind of annoying. Those moments started to build up. I was spending way too much energy fighting my own setup and not selling cards. I had cards stacked awkwardly, sealed product taking over my table. I was digging through cardboard boxes mid-conversation with customers, and so I started chipping away at those areas of friction. One at a time, just trying to streamline my process bit by bit and get better each show. Here's the path that I took to upgrade to my current setup. The very first thing I bought was some shelves. I had too much sealed product on my table, and it was kind of taking over my space to do deals with clients. Having shelves allowed me to keep my product behind me, minimizing my risk of theft, and helping me to display my product to look nicer. You sell sealed, shelving is a game changer. Before this, my sealed product was just like sitting there, taking up space, at risk of being stolen, and getting in the way of me making deals at my table with my customers. My next upgrade was a better card case. I say better, but before, like I had mentioned, it was just a cardboard box. So, actually getting a card case. This upgrade helped me keep my inventory way more organized before, during, and after shows. Helped keep my inventory actually protected so it wasn't just floating around in a cardboard box. And it helped me with faster setup or takedown so that I could get in and out of shows quicker. My biggest quality of life upgrade, even though it was relatively spendy, was upgrading to my Zion cases. I know they're cliche, they're everywhere. There's a reason that everyone uses them. They are very high quality, they're durable, they're easy to pack in and out. And if you ever end up traveling to out-of-state shows where you can't bring your own display case, you can actually rent cases at the event from Zion themselves. If you decide that you are going to be vending regularly, this is a huge quality of life upgrade that I can't understate. We'll say if you're looking to buy them, vertical cases are absolutely the move. You can fit 3 vertical cases perfectly on a 6-foot table. This is not sponsored or anything. This is me choosing to shill for Zion because I absolutely love their product. All right, getting your Zion cases is going to be a little bit if you give a mouse a cookie. Because the next thing you're going to want to get is risers for them. They help keep things really nicely displayed within your case. It helps reduce glare for the cards in really poor lighting areas that most of these conventions are in. They improve the visibility and they help maximize the space within your case. With a slight edge overlap, I can display 88 cards per Zion case with my risers. At this point, this is where I felt like my table really started looking like I knew what I was doing. And finally, upgrade 5 and where I am today is branding items. This is where you really start to differentiate what you look like as a vendor. These are things like branded tablecloths, roll-up banners, business cards, stickers, anything to help with your identifiable brand. Now that you kind of know the upgrade progression to go from beginner to intermediate setup, I want to walk you through some nice to haves and things not to forget. These are things that maybe you don't think about as supplies for a show, but are pretty necessary to have on hand. Things like portable chargers, a Sharpie, microfiber cloth, snacks, drinks, breath mints, gum, whatever. And one I learned the hard way 2 weeks ago, hand sanitizer. You're gonna be shaking a lot of hands if you're good at this vending thing, and unfortunately in the winter that comes with a good chance of sickness. I don't know if you can tell or not on this recording, but I've felt a little bit rough for the last couple of weeks. That's why this is coming to you about a week late. I didn't bring any hand sanitizer to my last show, and by the end of it, I was already feeling rough, and this has been sitting with me for almost 2 weeks now. If you want to keep yourself trucking along and not have this part of the hobby impact your regular day-to-day life, make sure you bring hand sanitizer, because yeah, I'm paying for that one right now. All right, that's my beginner setup and my progression journey to where my table's at now. Starting from my cardboard box dreams all the way up to my current setup. Now that your gear is dialed in, episode 5 is going to be all about table layout. How you can arrange your booth so that people actually stop, browse, and buy your goods. Peace.